Welcome back to Mik'd Up. We are excited to have our conversation. I'm going to try to keep Lloyd as quiet as possible on this next one. No questions until he raises his hand. I give him the permission to ask the question.
Good luck.
Coach Jay Johnson coming off a fresh 3-0 weekend sweep of Western Michigan. Coach, thanks for joining the show. Appreciate it.
You got it. How you guys doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? It was a big weekend. What did you see from the boys? Is it as expected? Did they exceed your expectations, or is it kind of par for the course and move on to the next one?
Yeah, I mean, my expectation is we're going to improve throughout the season. My expectation is that we show up really prepared on game day, which I believe that we definitely did that. And my expectation is that each player does their job relative to what they need to do to help the team win. And I thought we did that really well. And I like the brand of baseball, and good. And let's move forward.
Moving on to Southern. But I wanted, before we get into all of the details and the nitty-gritty of what happened, we talked a lot about, before the season started, we talked a lot about the depth of this team and how I think that's going to be a strength. And I think that, there's a lot of opportunity for you to mix and match lineups. And you had to see the depth probably a lot earlier than anybody wanted to, with Tommy White going down the first inning of the first game. How important has that depth been, one? And two, what is the status of Tommy White?
Yeah, I think the depth, we could kind of see it the last couple of weeks. And what I mean by that, we had some really high-level inter-squad games. I think the weekend before the season, we played Friday night. It was 6-3, good pitchers on both sides. Felt very much like a real SEC game in terms of how the game was being played. Same thing on Sunday, the second to last scrimmage that we had. So that wasn't a surprise, even really counting on that to be a staple or a strength or give us options really to withhold or withstand some thunderbolts. And we've had a few already here.
Right.
But that was good to see. I think relative to Tommy, get a little better each day. Certainly, we're in a much better spot than it looked when it happened. And so, feel really good. Don't know if he'll play tomorrow or not. Yeah. But, he's already got a bat in his hand. He kind of tapped me on the shoulder in the fourth inning yesterday. And it's like, hey, I'm ready to hit if you need me to.
Is it going to affect –
Thanks, big guy.
Is it going to affect
Did you just take the bat from him?
Yeah. Did you say you got to sit down and tie you down to the bench because you ain't playing?
I love competitiveness.
Yeah,
I mean, this guy, that's a underrated quality. I mean, everybody, knows what type of hitter he is and the power that he has, but just wants to compete, and that's a frustrating thing when something like that happens. Again, the good news is I think we're much closer to him being available than not. Yeah. And not sure that I thought that was the case when I saw him go down. We dealt with something really similar last year with Cade Doty in the ninth inning at Vanderbilt in the last regular season game. Did the same thing, and he probably could have toughed it out, played the next weekend in the SEC tournament, even though it would have been painful. So I don't think it was quite as severe as that one, if that gives you like an indication. Yeah. But I'm not a doctor, and I'm certainly not an athletic trainer, so we're the best we can day to day.
I got you. Well, hopefully he's okay. Paul Skeen had a lot of hype, right? He came in as a potential top 5, top 10 pick. I think as the season goes, I think he's going to contend for the number 1 overall pick with Dylan. I think those two are going to probably duke it out. Especially if he continues to pitch the way he did on Friday. You've come on the show. You've been, very open about how talented and how excited you are to watch Paul Skeen's pitch. You've hyped him up. And he goes out there on Friday and he throws 6 innings, punches out 12. I mean, I don't know if you could have even expected him to be that dominant that early on in the season. His first pitch of the game was 99 miles an hour.
Yeah, that was sweet. It was like, welcome to the season. Here we go.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, I'll let him kind of his performance and how he carries himself and talks speak for itself. This dude is special. It's like with him and Dylan, we have something very unique where your best players are your best people, and they're the leader of this team. There's no unequivocal two leaders for the team. And I mean, he was just out on the field Sunday, just kind of hanging out, and I went back out there after I was done with the media, and we were just talking. And the level of conversation that you have with Paul is remarkable. It's every bit as remarkable a pitching arsenal. And so I wasn't surprised at all. And I don't say that with any arrogance because the game of baseball is really tough. But, when I talk about maximum effort towards preparing, I don't even have to think about whether that's happening there or understand what we need him to do to execute. It's on a different level. Like, this is going to be, great year. And then in short order, he will be pitching in the major leagues. Yeah. And, from a college version, like Steven Strasburg is probably the closest thing that I've seen as a comparison.
Coach, without having to, I guess, single any of the guys out, what is your assessment of the freshmen's play this weekend? Because, and I don't even mean so much in terms of how they've performed against the other competition, but they are performing on a brand new stage for the most part for them in a situation now where it actually counts. It's one thing to be on that field in a fall game. It's another thing to be on that field under the lights or with real umpires and in a real game with real people there really watching a real game. How did you feel that they performed, and what are you looking for them to improve on going forward?
Yeah, I really like this class, and the talent you could see, and you could see it early. And, we're really intentional with how we've developed them. Like in the 2 fall games that we played against McNeese and Louisiana Lafayette, I want to say Paxton Kling, Brady Neal, Jared Jones, like we got those guys like 20 at bats in those 2 dates because you can kind of see if these guys figure it out, they're going to be ready to go. I think I was most pleased with their ability just to slow the game down. And we've talked about that at length. This is the biggest transition they're ever going to make in baseball from one level to the next. And we were just looking for poise and maturity. And I think we got that. And so there you saw their talent come out in certain instances. And, you can keep going down the line. Right. I mean, like Guidry made a nice play. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could think Fry can like win the Golden Spikes here someday. And I mean, he's not even in the starting lineup. And, he will be at some point, and that's exciting. Mick Paul led our team in hitting for the 3 weeks of the season. And so I'm super excited about that group to be able to build the program with them and develop them. And their attitudes are all great. Their work ethic is great. And wasn't Chase Shores obviously pitched really well. I wasn't really surprised because of their talent, but we've been hammering home just the mental game side of this thing. And they passed their first test, nice, and that's what I was.
For sure. You mentioned Chase Shores. I want to talk a little bit about the pitching staff in a whole, but I guess my question is, early on in the season, there's always people talk about pitch counts and how far these pitchers are going to be able to go in a game. You see Friday and you see Paul Skeen's go and he throws 98 pitches. He goes 6 innings, throws 98. Then you see on Saturday, Riley has, I think, 5 1/3, and he's thrown 72 pitches with no hit ball. And you see Chase going on Sunday, and he threw 3 1/3. What's the rhyme or reason? Is it just a feel thing, like you're going to watch the game, or is it just are these guys on a strict pitch count based off of who they are, where they've come from?
Yeah, no, we have a board in here coming. A lot of people surprised. It's like, hey, we'll let this guy just go this amount of innings or pitches. That's not how it works. Going into the weekend, there's an inning limit and there's a pitch limit on the board going into it. And it's all relative to the individual guy. So in Paul's case, against our team the previous Friday, he went 88 pitches. And so he was not going to start an inning over 90 pitches. That was not going to happen. As a matter of fact, if it would have been 89, 88, he wouldn't even gone back out for the 6th inning. And you guys, those strikeout guys, their numbers can get up a little quicker. Yeah. So at the end of 5, I believe it was a 3-0 game, and he was at 81 pitches. Mm-hmm. And so we got to the last hitter, and I want to say he was at 92 or 93. And let's say the guy got a hit or walked him, he would have been out of the game. We had Ty Floyd up in the bullpen, actually, because it was 3-0 at that time. And so his was, he wasn't going to start an inning over 90. So, boom. And he was built up for it from, let's just call, we shut him down in the fall 2 weeks earlier. He didn't throw in the UL Lafayette game. He didn't throw in the Fall World Series. to get a little bit more time to get the build up to have him ready to go 90 on opening day. Yep. And so also, pulling back the hitting piece a little bit has allowed him to really work on his conditioning and transform his body. Like he's in phenomenal shape. So all good there. With Riley, the previous week, he went 60 pitches in 4 innings, our team, with no hits. So he hasn't given up a hit in like 15 innings.
Yeah. He looked great.
Whatever. But I felt like 71 was right about the right call. I forget because off the top of my head, because I've already moved on to the next thing, but it was like the first hitter of his last inning, or the switch hitter was a left-handed hitter. So it was like, let's let him go back out.
Yeah.
And then he finished about 10 or 11 above what he did the previous week. And so that was a good stopping point right there for Riley. And then with Chase, we had built him up, and then we gave him the weekend off last weekend. And Les wanted to work with him on a couple of things. So I just didn't feel good about like 2 weeks and then run the guy up to 90 pitches. So he was right about 61. Felt like he had a good outing. I think it was good to test Sam Dutton, who really improved when we had second and third one out, and he executed beautifully right there. And so all these decisions were made well before going into the game, and by design, not by default.
Right.
So.
Right.
Coach, I think one of the surprises of the weekend that I guess we didn't kind of see coming was Riley getting the start on Saturday. With the extensive history that you two have and what he's meant to you and to your programs in the past, how good of a feeling is it knowing that you have that guy here again and him being able to be – because I would imagine just knowing what we saw from him last year, knowing what we saw from him to start this year already, he's a jack of all trades. And he's a bulldog, and he's ready to go whenever. How good of a feeling is it knowing – even on a deep staff like this, how good of a feeling is it knowing that you have this guy here again ready to go for you whenever you need it?
Security blanket.
Oh, big time. I mean, it's hard nowadays to get consistency right from the first time you put a guy out the field or on the mound, and that's what he's been for me. I mean, and I tell it all the time in Arizona, like we were losing the first game of the regionals in 21, and we brought him in, and he totally controlled the game for us. I think he even got the win. First game in the Super Regional against Ole Miss, same thing. Pitched in the opening game in Omaha against Vanderbilt and Kumar Rocker, and handled all those things beautifully. And then we did this analysis of last year. Like he pitched at the most tipping point situation of the game like 25 times in 2022 for us. Yeah. So you talk about trust, like, I mean, it's through the roof. And then at some point, like, I don't really care of what, like, Baseball America or D1 Baseball guys on prospect rankings. I'm looking at, I mean, it had carved all fall and all, 3 weeks leading up to the season. Like, it was an easy decision, and our players and would tell you that. And then, I mean, you look at the 4-pitch mix. You guys know as hitters, when guys are like that, that's really tough to play against. And I was pumped for him, and who knows how it'll go, but like he'll probably go back out there this weekend, but we know we can go right to him out of the bullpen. And, the guys worked hard for it. I mean, I told him in my exit meeting when I left right before I came to LSU that, hey, I envisioned him as a starter, moving forward. And that was a big goal of his. And then, so to see that finally come through was pretty awesome.
Have you ever heard no from him? Does he know what that word means?
No, I will tell you, this was a goal of his for a long time to get to the rotation. I mean, if you followed this dude's high school career, man alive, like it was, I don't think he lost in like 4 years. And high school baseball in Fresno, California is really good. Like it's hard to explain, but if you saw these facilities and these programs, it's really, really good. And he's like a legend, you know what I mean? There, and
a legend here now.
And the guy, he just wins. And so, I mean, you guys had those guys on your staff that maybe aren't as heralded as other guys on prospect lists, those types of things. Like, I know he's going to be a professional pitcher for a very, very long time.
Yeah. And I say that jokingly too, because I really compliment him. being able to talk to him, dude, I really appreciate the competitor in him. It's awesome to see.
Let's stay on the pitching staff. You talked about Ty Floyd a little bit. Is he the closer? Or is he the guy that you're going to pitch as of now on like the tipping points of the games where it's, hey, if it's in the 7th inning and it's a tight game and we need to bring a guy on the pen, is he the guy, or is it just kind of he may be in the rotation, he's been the closer? Like, what's the plan for him moving forward? Because he looked electric. He looked like he did towards the end of last year. I mean, he was throwing the old 96 mile-an-hour invisible. Fastball's down the middle, nobody can sniff it.
Yeah, I feel great about him,
Yeah.
and I won't pin him down to a role. I mean,
Yep.
You may see him in rotation at some point, but I think something that was key last year is we were really good at close games, and a lot of that had to do with Riley, Paul Gervais, and Eric Raiselman, and we were a little bit better than our opponent in the bullpen. So if we could just weather the storm with the starters or matchup or whatever the hell we were doing to get it to the 7th inning last year, that was a huge advantage. And so I thought about the game the other day, and Dutton did a great job getting us out of a little bit of the jam. And then we came up, didn't score, but I felt like we were going to. We were hitting a lot of balls hard on Sunday. And so it was just like, you know what, let's put him in now, because there's no way we're going to be at a competitive disadvantage,
Right.
And I think with most teams, and that's with great respect for the teams that we're going to play, if you have a guy that's solid, eventually you're going to win out, and you're going to be able to score some of those close games. So, I really liked having him sitting there on Sunday in a game that was tight. That was a big advantage for us.
Let's switch gears to the offensive side. We talked a lot about pitching, and I think that's been very obviously well earned because the pitching staff threw so well this weekend. But there's one guy in particular. The offenses did, in my opinion, exactly what you needed the offense to do first week. First week of the season is always kind of one of those weird types of deals. You face some guys who are throwing below the hitting speed. You have a lot of jitters. So the offense, I felt like performed great. But one guy in particular who I thought was a pretty good story, and it's nice to see him kind of get back on track, was Gavin Dugal. He comes in there, replaces Tommy, I guess, in the lineup. He's played second base, and he goes out there and goes 6 for 8 with 2 homers. What did you see from him? What is kind of his mentality, and how good is that to see him kind of get going?
Oh man, there's nothing I like seeing more. It's a difference-making player. Last year he was fairly productive.
Right.
And did I lose you guys?
Nope,
okay?
got you.
Okay, got you. So he persevered through a lot of weird injuries last year. I mean, it was like a run of bad luck that I've never seen. And he was fairly productive when he was in there. And then this fall, something wasn't right. He was 3 for 30 and swinging and missing by that much. And so I just said, hey man, can we go get your eyes checked? I literally want to look at this. And he has this thing wrong with his eye that was borderline going to end up legally blind.
Wow.
It was crazy. So we get surgery. He misses the last 4 weeks of the fall. Takes a month and a half to recover. Gets recovered. Takes live at bats the first day we take live at bat, and then there's some problem with the contact, and he's out another 2.5, 3 weeks. So he did not have an at bat from let's say October 28th until 2 weeks before the season.
Wow.
And first weekend back, he hit a homer, but he didn't do much else. It wasn't that good of a weekend. But then last weekend, you could kind of start to, the weekend before the opener, you could kind of start to see it. Hit another homer, had some really good walks, hit some balls hard with runners in scoring position. It was all right. And then we weren't sure what they were going to do in the rotation. And I was hey, you may even lead off opening day. So don't get don't be surprised when you see that. I felt really good about what he was going to do. And then we got him in and got him a bad opening day. And then got a single. And then the thing with Tommy, felt good about leading him off and hit the leadoff homer. And, I'm just really happy for him. And what a big lift for our team. That's a big lift for our team.
Speaking of the offensive side of the ball, or in the game, for you as a hitting guy, I thought personally, especially for opening weekend, especially for the beginning of the year, and kind of being able to control yourself and that, like play within yourself, I thought the offense did a pretty good job coming out there and playing and hitting in situational situations. How do you feel that they actually performed in those situations? Obviously, everything doesn't always go right, but as a team, how do you feel like they hit in with situational hitting?
Yeah, I mean, we really take pride in how we score runs. And I know the homers and extra base hits and all that, like that really grabs attention. But we have this whole blueprint that we play to. And, to simplify it, it's like, don't want to swing at balls. We want to crush mistakes. We want to really battle with 2 strikes. And we want to move the ball forward with runners on base. And that is staying within yourself and understanding what the game is asking of you. And then that kind of bleeds into getting the leadoff guy 4 times a game, having 3 quality at-bats at least 4 times throughout the game. And then the next layer of it is when a runner gets to second base with no outs or a third with less than 2, he's in.
Yep.
Like you're at bat currently making sure he's in. And then it's about getting the starting pitcher out with 10 or more outs to go in the game. Like if their bullpen has to get 10 outs, we feel like we have a real competitive advantage. And then we want to win the 3-base war, win the most innings, and win the big. And so like everything we do and teach and construct and practice is so those things manifest themselves in the game. And I thought these guys were right on top of it right from the start. And I give them some credit because the first 2 weeks of the spring, I mean, they got their rear end kicked by our pitching staff, but, didn't get negative, just kind of kept pushing. And then the weekend before, we looked like a good offensive team. You know what I mean? And I could kind of see it coming, and I think it's a good note to the maturity on the team, like that we played to those things I was talking about really, and that you guys identified really, really well.
Coach, you mentioned the maturity of the team a little bit, and I think that was evident whenever Tommy goes down and Dugal is ready to step in immediately. How almost it seems like it could have been hard for somebody like that to sit on the bench when you see what he does when he gets in the game. How were you able to kind of get that lineup to get adjusted to, hey, it's either going to be next man up, like anybody, you can call on anybody's number at any point and they're ready to play. There's no divisive part of this lineup. It seems like they're all bought in on what you're selling. I am too.
Yeah, they have to. And then you have to coach that. Like, we didn't just like, hey, hope it goes okay. Like, that's a question I get about it all the time. Like, how are you going to keep all these guys happy? Well, they came here to develop players, so you coach all of them. Like, you don't just go like, hey, you're over to the side here. So they know, like, they're going to get better playing for our staff and playing for our team. And some guys, it's their time right now. Some guys, it's not. But they need to be ready when their number's called upon. And just because you're in there, you may have a great day, and the next day you might not be because we need to do something else for the team to win. So, I mean, all of fall and all of this preseason camp, whatever we call it, 1 weekend into it, I think there's a really solid understanding of that. Now, we'll see. It's going to continue to be tested, but I have great faith in how that piece is going. And I already mentioned the leadership on the team. Their accountability level, the right thing, being the right type of teammate, being selfless, being mentally strong. They're holding themselves to a standard that's really, really high right now. And so if we could continue to do that, I don't even worry about that stuff.
Right.
What are you complaining about having too many good players? Like, that's lame.
Yeah. I mean, would you rather have not enough good players or too many good players? I mean, that's just like you can't worry. That's not a problem. That's a good thing.
No, I mean, like, I laugh all the time. Like, I mean, we're in a regional final last year. I mean, I'm looking at this thing going like, how are we going to get 27 more outs against a really good team? Right. And then in the second game, after we lost the first game, it's like, man, there's a spot or two in the lineup where it's just like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And that's not the situation we're in today. And I think all of them understand that. And they all came here to be a part of a championship team. And you can't do that without other good players. And so nobody's, against each other, all that. And I got to tip my hat to, some of the older players that they want to go to Omaha. Other than Bryce Collins, Riley Cooper, and Christian Little, nobody's been to Omaha here. So they're so far so good. And we'll keep working on that. And I feel strong about the player leadership. We'll be in a good spot in that space.
Coach, I appreciate your time. Just a couple more questions. I want to talk a little bit about Brady Neal. Did you anticipate, was the plan, hey, you're going to play all 3 games, or was it, okay, well, I mean, you're playing too good for me to take you out, so I'm just gonna keep you in there?
Yeah, no, I mean, I look at this thing all the time. Like, I mean, going back to the fall, and we played at Louisiana Lafayette in November. It was like November 11th or 12th. We started him in both the games of the doubleheader, and I actually played the first game exactly like a real game. Like, if you make a change, you're out, and this person goes in.
Right. And
Alex had really special defensive skills, and he's improved as a hitter too. I mean, he only had 2 at bats this weekend, but he's working hard and he's improved. But having a left-handed hitting catcher that's ready to take mature professional at bats, that really advances our offense, especially when you're thinking about to get through like Cruz, Trey Morgan, Joe Barra, Jordan Tommy White, and then you got this team.
Keep going. Go more.
Yeah. Right. And so that is also a very good catcher too. I mean, he handled 97 and 99 with 3 pitches really well on Friday. So I'm just the development part of him from, let's say, November 12th to now has been, or even January 15th to the start of the season, is remarkable. And, there's other guys in that category too.
Of course.
But yeah, really, really pleased with the catchers. I think Brady caught 19 of the 27 innings and Alex caught 8. And we were very efficient with our receiving metrics or blocking. And both those guys did a really good job.
With the addition of Brady being able to kind of get in the lineup and do some special things there too, we spoke about it a little bit earlier, and I don't want to take away from his actual ability to play the game as well, but the presence of Jones in the middle of that lineup, how big do you think that's going to play for you guys going forward?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, the ability is special. Like, I mean, people ask me what I think of him. I'm like, he reminds me of Mark McGwire.
I mean, the kid's huge. He's
large.
Might not be a catcher for long, Coach.
Yeah, you think about Mark McGwire, and everybody thinks about the home runs, but he was like a really good hitter. Good swing also. And that's how I think about Jared and his ability to make adjustments and slow the game down. The confidence he plays, just total presence and. That was good, and that's not always going to probably be perfect for any of these young guys. That's not how baseball goes, but I think it was a good step in learning how to trust themselves and their ability and slow the game down, and those things will be very valuable, for us moving forward this year and in the coming years.
Coach, moving on to Southern. Like I said, only a couple more questions. We play Southern tomorrow. It's Thatcher Hurd's LSU debut. What can fans expect to see from him? What is he going to look like on the mound? Obviously, you've had some high expectation for him as well, and you've been very high on him in the media, and he's super talented. So what can we expect to see tomorrow from him on the mound?
Yeah, super competitor. First off, that's a part that, people don't see. I referenced Trey. Trey's a super competitor. Thatcher kind of got that DNA where he's coming for blood, kind of thing, which is awesome. But pitchability is elite. I mean, it's really good off-speed stuff, really good fastball, velocity, movement, location, change speeds. Really excited to get him out there. There was just something we wanted to work on last week. And so he really wasn't even available to pitch until yesterday. And we would have used him yesterday if we needed to use him yesterday. Yeah. But it lined up for him to be able to pitch on Tuesday. Super excited about that. He's going to be a huge part of our team, this year and next year, which is a great thing.
You have a big weekend, obviously. You're going to Dallas. You're playing. I guess it's Arlington, right? Not Dallas. Arlington, I guess you're going to.
Round Rock.
Round Rock. That's it. I knew it wasn't Dallas, but it was around the area.
You're like 2 hours away.
I know. I'm struggling. But that's probably going to be the obviously the teams that are there that's going to pose a challenge that was different than Western Michigan posed, and you go and play Texas next Tuesday. I'd imagine that the guys are ready, but what are you expecting and what do you want to see from those guys? Because this is going to be a true road game, probably for really 4 of the games. You're on the road. You're playing at Texas on Tuesday. What do you want to see from the guys going forward over this next week?
Yeah, just this brand of baseball that we talk about and train to and practice to and want to play to, and the standard of winning or above winning. And I trust them to do that. Now, great challenge. I mean, Kansas State, I think, 4-0 as of today. Iowa won all 3 games last weekend. We're facing some dude that's going to throw like 110 miles an hour allegedly.
Wow.
Punch had like a Paul Skeen's outing last week, so that'll be awesome. And then Sam, Houston State's a great team as well. That's always in the hunt for the NCAA tournament. We played them multiple times in the NCAA tournament at Arizona. So, and then at Texas, which is a great challenge as well. So yeah, it's going to be great. I think it's on the schedule for a reason. I think it kind of gives you a simulation of NCAA regional, which is important. I think playing at a neutral site is great because it's Omaha's a neutral site. And, the competition level probably goes up, and that's good. There's nothing about that's not awesome. So just development, progress, improvement while we're winning games is what we're going after.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Obviously, I guess I'm gonna have to subscribe to D1 Baseball so I can watch it.
I was about to ask if you may have a link that you could send me.
No, we're gonna subscribe. We're gonna pay. We'll be paying viewers, Coach. But good luck this week. Looking forward to watching y'all play, and we'll chat again next week.
Sounds great. Thank you, guys.
Good luck, Coach.